I decided to make art on a big, humongous canvas. This is me for scale. Hi. But when it comes to painting on larger surfaces, it comes with a lot of ups and downs, lovingly sprinkled with anxiety and heaping doses of, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Join me as I stumble through 7 days of painting and 9.5 hours worth of footage, transforming this humongous, intimidating blank canvas into an inspired, intuitive work of art. First things first, I dug out this old canvas that I had stashed in the back of my closet for many, many years. Very long time ago. I had used it for previous projects, for backdrops, and also painted it this intoxicating orange color. I don't know what I was thinking about doing this puke orange color. It needed to go. That's when I ran into my first problem. I ran out of gesso, the one medium that can clean up this puke orange color and turn my canvas back into a ridge condition. However, your girl is super crafty in the ways of home improvement projects, and I happened to remember that we had a bit of primer left. A little bit left in there. I grabbed the primer, popped it open, and proceeded to prime my canvas. Unfortunately, that's when I ran into my second problem. What in the world? The primer was gumming up on top of the canvas. It just comes right off. That orange paint that I was using was so heinous in quality. It literally tried choking out the primer, turning it into sad clumps of despair. Ugh. I tried researching to see why this happened, but I got nowhere. So after crying about it for 3 minutes, I left my canvas to dry and then proceeded to add more primer layers. Turns out if I keep covering the crazy carnage underneath with more layers, all of my problems will eventually fade away. Little did I know that this would be the theme for this entire painting. So while I wait for my canvas to dry, I actually have to figure out what it is that I need to paint. It's brainstorming time. I'm trying to get better at painting from intuition and going with what my mind/gut is trying to tell me. So when I meditated and looked deep within my soul to understand what my heart was burning to tell me, it popped out an eagle. Okay. And once I manifested a freaking bald eagle of glory, the rest was history. I arranged a quick composition in Photoshop, printed out a grayscale version of my reference picture, and did a tiny little victory dance because the hard part was finally over. The hard part was finally over. It's not over, it's just getting started. Now I need to transfer this 8x10 reference image onto a 30x40 canvas. That's kind of a big jump. Whipping out my ruler, I created a 1" by 1" set of box grids on my reference image and a 3 3/4 inch by 4 inch set of box grids on my canvas. I had to take myself back to 3rd grade math a few times to make box grids on the canvas because I'm stupid. And by doing this, I can literally look at the specific box inside my reference picture and copy it into the correlating box on my canvas. It's like those grid drawings that you see in a kid's coloring book, except on canvas. And if you want to learn the multiple methods I use to scale an image, including the grid box method, you can check out my Skillshare class, Scale and Transfer Basics. The link is in the description below. Now that I have a rough sketch on my canvas, it's time to address the intimidating elephant in the room. The white canvas. Nothing says creativity cockblock than 120 square inches of stark white canvas. I decided to break the anxiety by slapping on watered down blue, purple, and green paint, making sure to cover my entire canvas in lots of drippy drips. That's better. Then grabbing a washcloth, I wiped away the areas on my canvas to make room for my girl, Sandra. Let's call her Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Using my grayscale reference picture as my guide. I started by adding my midtone values, making sure to keep my hand and brush really loose but steady. The look I'm going for is less polished and realistic and more abstract and expressionist. I'm focusing on vivid colors, relying less being grounded in reality and more on the dreamlike atmosphere. This allows for me and my viewer to leave room for interpretation. Whether that actually happens is anyone's guess. As this painting is beginning to take shape, I noticed one great advantage to painting on big canvas. It's the ability to beat the ever-living out of it. It's a very good feeling, almost knocked down my canvas and my easel a few times. A very satisfying perk indeed. Now, thanks to the ability for acrylics to dry way darker than their tube labels, I needed to go back in several times to add more lighter values to this painting, including Sandra's glass-cutting cheekbones and our eagle's gorgeous feathery plumage. Here's when things started to really get off the rails. At first, I didn't like how Sandra's eyebrows and eyes were, so I changed it. Then I hated it. Then changed it back to the way it was before. Then, Sandra's hair that I tried to paint over reminded me of a river, so I freestyled and painted her hair to look flowy and ripply, making even the most majestic of waterfalls look like chump change. I then added stars to give Sandra a much needed glow up to her already magical personality. It was then that I knew that the painting was finished. Psych! Just kidding. There's more. There's so much more. Staring at Sandra and her bald eagle sombrero gave me visions of dream catchers, which I then proceeded to paint throughout the scene using chalk, paint bottles, and caps to get the job done. I grew up sleeping with dream catchers by my door or bed, so their significance of catching bad dreams with their intricate string patterns and feeding me good happy vibes was most certainly needed for this painting. After spending hours meticulously painting circles, I decided to screw it, paint over the dream catcher. We don't need him anymore, not at all. Nope, goodbye, bad dreams forever. And instead painted a drippy drip crescent moon that would rain gorgeous moonlight onto Sandra's waterfall hair. Then it dried looking like this. Womp. So I doubled down with more Pepto-Bismol drippy drips. I hated it, so I spread the whole thing around and hated myself even more for it. And I know this part sounds like all fun and games, but really, it sucked. It's at this point that the old me would have thrown in the towel and given up. But this new me is a painter, working from intuition. I forced myself to believe that this was all part of a grand plan, accepted the ugly baby that was my painting, and pushed forward. I decided to tone down that Pepto-Bismol color into a neutral peach and began to make softer strokes resembling clouds. I then added pops of orange and drippy blue to add even more interest and started feeling my insufferable confidence returning. But like Icarus flying too close to the sun, I got cocky and painted a weird-ass sunset ocean resting on our eagle's shoulder. And guess what? I didn't like that either. So I decided to distract myself by painting more clouds until I had no choice but to reevaluate my entire painting and my life.
2,000 years later.
I think I figured it out. With clean brushes and fresh water, I added more drippy drips and texture from my eagle, and decided to get really bold by adding pops of bright pinks and oranges in the in-between spaces of my drippy drips. I don't know what I'm doing, but this technique was creating an almost melty effect, where Eagle and Sandra looked like they were dripping and melting into their surroundings. In a way, this was a message from the universe to show us that once we melt away our hate and feelings of otherness, learning to embrace our inner power, we can begin to feel acceptance and coexist peacefully, knowing that our strengths and weaknesses make us beautifully flawed beings who find their greatest fulfillment in union and balance with nature. Whoa. Damn. Riding astride the strong winds of unbridled inspiration and pure relief, I added more of this melty effect throughout the rest of the painting, coupled with a few geometric blocks of color to help break up the pattern and give some rest to the eyes. And after adding a million little stars later, I am happy to say Sandra and her eagle chapeau have finally completed their journey. It's showtime. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and to subscribe to my channel. If you want to see more painting adventures from me, be sure to click on this video right over here. Wop, 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 wop.